What's up, guys? We got a bonus module for you. We've invited a couple of Freedom Ticket students, one who is already pretty successful on Amazon, one who is just starting out, and we invited them in just to kind of like pick their brains and them to pick our brains about Amazon as it is now, maybe what their experience has been with Freedom Ticket, if they have any questions about Freedom Ticket or just questions to ask Kevin in general about Amazon. We want just like nice intimate setting right here where hopefully some of the questions that they're asking are maybe some of the questions that you have about how to go forward in the Freedom Ticket course. So we've got Eric from your local right here to California.
Laguna Hills, California.
All right, excellent. And a little bit less local, Amanda, right? Where are you coming from today?
Yes, I am coming from Florida, a little town. It's Jensen Beach in Florida.
Where's that?
It's just north of West Palm Beach.
Okay. And you literally flew to LAX, hopped in a rental car, and drove 2 hours right here and got right to the microphone pretty much,
yes,
right?
I did, yes.
Excellent. So you have one product that you're selling on Amazon now, right?
Correct.
You just started, now you're just brand new starting like in week 1 of Freedom Ticket.
Yes.
Okay, and Eric, how long have you been selling on Amazon?
Over 5 years now.
Over 5 years now, all right. And so how many products do you have?
About private label, about 400.
400. What was your 2019 sales?
There was just north of about 600,000.
Excellent. But still you are finding value in the Freedom Ticket program, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Mine's more seasonal niche products, so it really ramps up and then ramps down.
Okay, Excellent. All right, well, let's dive into it. Kevin is the man of the hour here, so let's start with you, Eric. What you even came prepared to say? No, look at that.
I know. I
Bunch of questions,
Making
right?
me look bad. I'm not prepared for anything here. All right, so hit Kevin with something either about Freedom Ticket or about Amazon in general. Let's hear it.
Okay, I think the first question is we're all wondering, where did you get that jazzy tune for the modules?
I don't know. Where did you get that from?
I have no idea. Kevin behind the camera, are you the one who picked that?
It's jazzy.
Go,
I mean,
yeah.
you're still kind of
You
snapping
needed
your
something
fingers,
that
you know?
you have 80 modules, the same thing. You don't want to get too tired of it.
That's
So,
right.
Kevin, you did a good job with that.
Very good job on that.
All right. Amanda, you have a more relatable question to our viewers? This is what he had to write a lot of notes on. Where do you get the music from? Okay.
Cool.
All right, Amanda, your turn here. Now, just a quick question for you. So, what are your goals with, like, what got you interested to sell on Amazon?
It all started with my husband actually started doing arbitrage and wholesale. He started that a couple years ago, and then just through listening to him and everything, and then I saw actually some ads, private label, so I started reading up on that, and that's how I kind of, thought private label was good for me.
Cool.
My husband still likes the arbitrage and wholesale, but I like the private label.
Do you work full time
Yes,
still?
I do.
So this is kind of like something you do in the nights, weekends, things like that. What was your kind of like goal? Like, how did you envision yourself? We're in 2020 now. Like 2021. Like what would you have liked to see? Like that you've quit your job and just can do this, or you can stay at home, or
Yes, that's what I would love.
Okay.
I would love to stay at home and, launch some more products and, get our first product, hopefully up and going. If not, it might not have been the best product to choose.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're still learning though. I mean, either way
Yes.
through this process. Yeah.
Yes,
So for your first product-
learning lots.
So for your first product, did you actually take another course or watch some YouTube videos before you did Freedom Ticket?
Yes,
Or did you
I-
just launch it?
No. I did take another course.
Okay.
Okay.
And so Eric, you've been selling for 5 or 6 years for a while, and you're already doing. You said it's over $500,000 a year. So why in the heck would you want to go into a course that's like kind of for more people that are just starting out? What are you learning? What's the advantage to you in this?
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of finding that it's good to have some of the refresher part of it, and then it helps me to think through, am I doing the best practices on some of these things? And one of the things I like about the Freedom Ticket approach to the course is that I'll come across something that I've tried, and then you'll say, you know what, I wouldn't recommend doing that. Or you'll say, other people may try it this way, but it's not what I would do. And I think what I've seen on other courses is they promise a lot of things. There was one that I took about 2 years ago that said, we guarantee we're going to double your sales this year. There was about 5 of us that took that course together. None of us doubled our sales. So they make these false promises. And what I felt like with the Freedom Ticket course, I started to look into it. And the way I found out about it is another group that I'm in a mastermind, who's also a person very experienced over 5 years selling, said, I'm going back, I'm doing Freedom Ticket. And I'm like, really? Isn't that for more when you're starting out? They said, no, I'm catching things I've missed. So it got me thinking about that. So now I'm trying to power through it. It's a ton of content. It's a lot of work you guys have put into this, but I'm getting a lot of value out of it. And right now I start my first 2 hours of the day doing modules. I start early, get through it, and then I get on with the rest of the day.
So, Amanda, when you started with your first product, about how much did you have to invest in like the initial inventory, getting it to Amazon, etc.?
The product itself was probably about $2,000.
Okay. So it's not too expensive, or did you have a low minimum order quantity, or?
Yeah, so I just did 100.
Okay.
I got the supplier to do a low MOQ. So
That'll be in a later module as well in Freedom Ticket.
yes.
Okay, excellent. So then, what are your goals for expansion? Obviously you want to see if this is going to be profitable for you, but how do you envision yourself come a year from now? Have you set those kind of goals yet?
Yeah, so I would like to, I'd like to do a brand registry and kind of build on the brand. And then obviously my goal is to, make what I make now so then I can.
So similar to
Yes,
Eric over here.
yes.
Excellent.
And how long do you think that'll be before, what's your goal? And you hope to like be able to do this full time in a year or 2 years, or what kind of goal do you have?
I'm hoping in a year, but that might be a little too much. So maybe a year and a half. I'm hoping, I took another course, and like you said, it was, all these people, they want your money, and we paid quite a bit for the course. So that's my other thing is now we kind of have to make that money back as well as, the what we spent on our inventory.
So this 1 year or year and a half that you say you're not quite sure, so do you know what level of sales you have to be at in order to make that happen? Do you have that number? Have you done that math? And it's okay if you haven't.
No, not yet.
Okay. So a lot of you probably watching this don't know what that number is either. Most of us that are getting into this business, you're doing it either as a side hustle to make a little extra money, to pay off some bills, or take a nice vacation. But most people are doing this because they want to change in their life. They want to work for themselves, be able to have the freedom. That's why it's called Freedom Ticket, to do what you want when you want. And you have to know that number. And so when you've already done the modules because he's a little bit ahead of you, but there's actually one of the upcoming modules, I forget which week it is, 2 or 3 maybe. We're gonna walk you through a little worksheet, so you're gonna know exactly how many products you need. You're gonna say, my number is, I'm just making this up, but say it's $50,000 I need to pay my bills, or maybe it's 100,000 or whatever it is. Say it's 50. We're gonna show you, and you just said your product costs you $20 because you did 100 of them. And so hopefully you're selling that for $40 or $50 at least, and it's going to show you exactly the margins you need and how many products you need and what sales you need to be at to achieve your goal of, say, $50,000 a year. It's a simple little spreadsheet, and that's what we do in the Freedom Ticket. We go into the weeds to show you, so you can make a really concrete plan, and you can set the right targets, because a lot of people in this business are just wandering around lost.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of took the Freedom Ticket to try to hopefully get me on the right path and, a little more knowledge and everything.
We got time for maybe another Amazon or Freedom Ticket related question for Kevin, if you have one.
Bundling, because I know you had kind of mentioned, other products variations and color, and I bundled my product with something, and that's what I'm wondering is maybe it wasn't a very good bundle idea. And can I take that bundle away? Can I take it off the main image and not really mention anything, and then they just get a bonus?
You could do that. You need to change your inventory at Amazon, so it's not in there anymore. You have to pull it back out and send it back in. But
so
yeah,
I
you
do
could
have to take it out. I can't just leave it in there if I take
I mean,
it.
you could. It could be. Yeah, you could if you think the bundle is. You don't want to mix. If you have the pen and the notebook, I'm just using that as an example. You could say buy the notebook and surprise, you get a pen, and you could just leave it there. That's okay, but you can't. But if you're gonna say they just get the notebook, you might actually want to take it back out.
Okay.
But you could leave it there, and it could just be a bonus surprise, and you could go and change the image and say, oh, you're only getting a notebook now, and not a pen. But I don't know. The only advantage to that I would see is if that just justifies a lower price or something. But I don't know that I would necessarily do that.
Okay.
But bundling, how did you pick what you're going to bundle?
I kind of found it on Etsy, through Etsy. It was just something that people were bundling with. I mean, nobody else had. That's what I learned in the other course, is differentiation, to differentiate yourself from the competitors. So I just kind of searched what different items I could potentially bundle mine with, and I come across something on Etsy. It's like, oh, that, is kind of a neat idea. So that's how I came across the idea.
Well,
But now I'm not sure if it's holding back, because maybe people are like, well, I don't really need that item with this.
Well, that's one way to do it. It sounds like you kind of use your intuition a little bit, or to figure out what you should bundle. But there's ways to do that on Amazon to actually figure out exactly what you should bundle by looking at the frequently bought together. Customers who viewed this also viewed that. And that's where the Helium 10 tools and some of the other tricks will show you. So you can actually figure out what people actually want together or what they're already buying together. And then when you bundle that, it can be much, much more powerful.
All right, so I just have one product right now on Amazon, and my main thing is PPC, struggling with PPC. And I've been listening to Project X, and now I've learned that to do the test, you should, how to do the test product to test the PPC and how much it's going to be costing. So I guess that's my main thing, is finding, do I have the correct keywords for my PPC campaign?
Well, you're already past that stage. Obviously, you already got the product.
Yes.
So the what we were showing in Project X was a test PP. Like, we're already way beyond that. So
yes, I
it's
should
just
have
general.
done that. Yeah.
So Kevin, somebody who has a product right now, it's already selling on Amazon, but they don't feel that it's very optimized. What would be your?
So the best thing to do on that is the first thing is to run an automatic campaign. So you want to run an auto campaign to actually find out what Amazon, to make sure you're actually relevant for what Amazon thinks you should be relevant for. And then what you want to do beyond that is, hopefully you've used Helium 10 and done a little bit of research and figured out a list of keywords that are relevant to your product. And I show you in the Freedom Ticket, you haven't gotten there yet, you just started, but one of the modules that we'll show you in a few weeks, maybe Eric has already done it, but we'll show you how to use the Helium 10 tool to compare your ASIN that you already have to potentially nine other ones that are similar to yours that are selling. And you can see where the similarities are and where they're actually ranking really well and which keywords they're ranking really well on. Those are most likely the ones that are going to give you the best chance to work on PPC. Okay. And then you're going to set up a PPC campaign, and a lot of people, you can put up a lot of keywords in a campaign, but I don't recommend you put more than 5 or 10 in a campaign, because what happens is when you fill it up with 30 or 50 or 100 keywords, sometimes Amazon's algorithm will just pick and choose some of them to actually show impressions on, the other ones it just avoids for whatever reason. So I like to limit that down to just like 5 or 10 in a single campaign. And then you can take the best ones out of those and move them into other campaigns if you want to. Okay. But we talk about that in detail in the course. But the PPC it's something that a lot of people struggle with. And because there's a lot of math involved, and there's a lot of potential money that you can waste, and a lot of spending that can happen that you got to be careful on. Yes. But the thing is, on your PPC, is good for two things. It's good for figuring out the main keywords that you want to optimize for organically. So it might be 3, 4, or 5 keywords. You want to make sure, well, these are the ones people are buying, and you get those into your title, into your bullet points, and your back end and stuff. And then the other part of PPC is to figure out what the long tail is. Because for most products, they make most of their sales on a handful of keywords. Is where probably 80%, 90% of the sales come from, is a small group of keywords. But that other 10 or 20% comes from a whole random list of oddball stuff. And that's where the PPC can really help you pick up that extra stuff. And it can help you get the ranking for those 3, 4, 5 main ones and help support that and prop that up.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, because right now my PPC, I have some keywords that are costing me, $5, $6, $7.
Ouch.
Yes.
Per click. And are they converting though?
No, they're not.
Okay.
So that's why I ran the auto and, the exact, and I for right now, I kind of just stopped the auto and I'm just running the manual to try to figure
Well, part of that could
keywords
be
out.
how many reviews do you have?
Right now I have 4.
And what is your main competitors? How many do they have? They have hundreds or thousands?
No, I mean, probably 100 or less.
Okay, so if
There
they,
might be a few that have over that, but majority is 100 or less.
so if there was some that had a lot more reviews, that could be part of the problem why you're having to pay more. It's just not converting because people don't trust it yet versus the other guys. But if that's in your case, those are keywords that just may not resonate for your product. You have to get in the mindset of the customer when they type that keyword in. What are they actually trying to buy? And if your product doesn't resonate, even though your product is affiliated with that keyword or makes sense, maybe that's not what they're looking for when they type that keyword in. So you got to find those keywords that really resonate. And the only way you can do that is by testing. And unfortunately, when you start PPC, you're going to be spending a lot of money and to figure some of this out. And are you brand registered at all?
No.
Like if you're brand registered with your trademarks, you could use brand analytics, and you could fine tune this data a little bit more faster.
Okay.
Because the brand analytics will actually show you the keywords that are converting a little bit better for the top guys.
Now, for a lot of you guys, especially those who are, not like Eric, who's just using Freedom Tickets kind of refresher and to make sure his knowledge is fresh. Maybe you're brand new, and that whole last 5 minutes was all over your head because you're in week 1 here on Freedom Ticket. Well, that's the kind of detail that we get into. Like a lot of the things that Kevin was talking about, Amanda doesn't know about yet because she's barely in week 1, and that's, I believe, in week 6 or 7, right? We're talking about PPC. So you guys have that to look forward to. Basically, if you didn't understand that conversation, by the end of week 6, you can rewind this and you're going to understand exactly what Kevin was talking about there.
Here's one for you. So I took a different approach. I'm coming out of corporate marketing, and so I'm more used to developing a line of products instead of just individual products, right? My background is more product development and things like that. So I did a bunch of extensions where I've got variations as far as size and color and things along those lines. My question is it smart to group those variations together so that you have one cohesive look there? Or from a real estate standpoint, are you better off to play Monopoly and have as many places on the board as possible?
It depends on that. I mean, some people will group variations together. So for those of you who don't know what a variation is, it's where usually variations are different colors of the same thing. So you have a red pen, a blue pen, and an orange pen, or it's different sizes, small, medium, large, or something like that. But what a lot of people will do is that's the way it's intended. But some people will actually do variations. I'm not sure which way you're doing it, or they'll actually group a pen with a notebook and something else, and you're not supposed to do it that way. There are advantages to doing that, but so to answer your question, it's worth testing because to take up more real estate, where if you can rank each of those, the orange pen, the red pen, and the blue pen separately, and you can get them all to page 1, you're taking up a much higher portion of the real estate on page 1.
Exactly.
But a lot of times it's difficult to get them all ranked because you can use tools like Helium 10, and we show you this in the course where you can use the Chrome extension. You can actually figure out when you download the reviews exactly which variations are driving most of the sales. And typically when you have variations, there's 1 or 2 that are driving most of the sales. So it's difficult to get those other ones onto the same page. But what you can do is you can have the titles be different and target different keywords. So that one of them might be ranking on page 1 for one keyword, another one's ranking on page 1 for a different keyword. But it's something you have to test because sometimes people come in on the orange pen, but they're like, oh, the blue one actually looks pretty cool. I didn't know they had a blue one, and they'll buy it. So it's a testing thing. And so there's different schools of thought on that, but I would test it and see what happens. You can always group them together and then ungroup them if you want to.
Because one thing I'm noticing after doing this for about 5 years, I'm taking my sales report with a couple hundred SKUs here, and I'm seeing what the sales are and then totaling that together. And it's still the 80-20 principle. The top 20% of the SKUs are driving 80% of the sales.
Yeah, that's true for most
think
people.
Amazon's different than like a typical selling into a retailer where you need a complete product line. And that's one of the questions I asked myself, and one of the reasons I'm taking your course to figure out, am I doing this the right way with all these SKUs, or do I need to rationalize and cut them down and more focus? And so I guess that's my next question. Is there an ideal number of SKUs that's really manageable?
Well, if you're doing this yourself or you don't have a team, right. You're using you told me earlier, you're using some sophisticated software and some other expensive software and stuff to help manage some of those listings, but you don't need what'd you say, 600
Right.
SKUs? I think that's probably a little excessive. I think if you took your energy and your money and you focused it on those 20% out of those, so the 100 or so, 120, 100 that are actually making money, and figure out ways, driving most of the money, figure out ways to optimize them better, and take the money that you're spending for inventory and for PPC and everything on those others and focused it on those, I think you're going to have much better success.
Yeah.
It's easy to go really wide. I think it's better to go deep on Amazon. And I don't like, me personally, I have about, in one of my accounts, I have about 20 SKUs. A brand new company I'm building right now, our 3-year goal, and to sell this company is for $20 million plus, is we'll have a maximum of 30 SKUs at the end, a maximum of 30 SKUs at the end of, and that's variations and everything, at the end of 3 years. And hopefully we can do it with less. But you don't want to have too few, where the problem is when you have the 80-20 rule, which accounts for a lot of stuff, you might have 10 products and 2 of them are making all the money and the other 8 aren't. If something happens to one of those products for whatever reason, you're kind of screwed because there went a significant portion of your revenue. So you got to be careful about having all your eggs in one basket on 1 or 2 products. So I like to spread it out and try to get them to more be even if possible. And sometimes it just doesn't happen because you have a runaway hit and you're like thrilled to death, but that actually scares me when that happens. And I sometimes will try to dial it back.
Yeah, it makes sense because there's only a limited amount of time in the day.
Yeah.
And with so many SKUs, I find my time being spread thin.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
I have my question for you is, are you in a similar boat as Amanda as Amazon is kind of a side thing for you right now, or is this your primary income, or do you still have a main job that you have?
The last 2 years, I've been doing it full time.
Okay, excellent.
So, and last 2 years, I developed my private label brand. That's where the SKU count went way up. So the first 3 years, I actually distributed other national brands and then just created the listings for those companies. And then
kind of like a wholesale model
exactly,
of Amazon.
like a wholesale distributor, but selling on Amazon.
Yeah.
So the tough part is that when PPC came into play and some of these other, increase in storage fees and things like that, there's just not a lot of margin there for you to buy a product for $1 and sell it for $2, right? You got to kind of go the other way and try to get to that, 4 or 5 times the product costs. So that pushed me into doing more of my own brand, my own private label.
Now, for you, did you have that same goal that she has right now? Like, hey, I'm going to start this, whenever you start in 2015, 2016, it would be nice to be able to quit my day job and do this full time. Did you have a similar goal as Amanda here?
Yeah.
And then, so how did you decide when you were ready? What did you already have? Did you always have a number like, hey, I need to be making this much profit a year to make this worthwhile? Or how did you set that goal and decide when to make that transition?
Yeah, for me, I basically looked at, well, what is the money that I need to live off of? What am I making now? Can I equalize that amount of money so that from a standard of living, I stay the same? And, it's just like redoing a kitchen. It always takes twice as long and twice as much money. And, this is before a lot of these courses were out there when I got into this 5-6 years ago. Mm-hmm. We were all trying to figure this out. And quite honestly, it was an easier marketplace in those days. It wasn't as sophisticated as it is now. So it was easier to kind of distribute those products. And that worked pretty well the first 3 years. But as it became more competitive, then the margin wasn't enough. And so that's why I switched to the private label. But that was always my plan, was to go full time. I'd like to go to the next step and then go off Amazon and then continue to build the brand in this case. So all of my stuff's trademark and it's packaged as a consumer goods to build the product line for an exit strategy down the road.
Okay.
So, but it's been a dynamic business. And another reason why I take this course is that you have to stay current. You have to be constantly learning in this business. It is not that easy of a business. Once you start really getting into it, you get a high SKU count and you got to finance that. So it's really helpful to have like the Helium 10 tools. So before, when I got into this, I'm looking at the listings and the competitive listings and whatever software was available at the time. But a lot of that stuff isn't even around today, where Helium 10 is really kind of, dominated from a market standpoint because the data is so good.
Yeah.
So the game's really changed, but so has the competition.
Sure.
And you have to be sharper today than you did even 5 years ago to sell on the marketplace. Yeah. I guess another question I have is when you start getting to a lot of a SKU count and you don't want to send it directly to Amazon because of the storage charges that they charge, are you more in the camp of having your own warehouse or doing like a third-party warehouse?
I've done it both ways. I've had the first several years I had my own warehouse. And that warehouse, by warehouse, I mean 3 public storage units side by side. That was the way I did, because I like to touch and feel it. I want to make sure it's all right.
Me too.
A lot of people, they don't want to mess with that. It's too much hassle. It's not worth it. They want to travel. They have this as a remote nomadic lifestyle, so it's kind of not possible. So in that case, you would use a 3PL. But I would never ship directly to Amazon. I know a lot of people do it, and a lot of people coach to do that, but it's not even an option for me. The only time I've ever done that is a U.S.-based product where I implicitly trusted the manufacturer on that. That's the only time I've done that, and even then I made them, before they ship it out, FedEx me some random samples so I could see it before they actually shipped it out. But yeah, I would use a third party, because you just never know. And the worst thing can happen is you ship them to Amazon, and you may have even done an inspection in China or wherever you're making it, and it's still, something could be wrong, and it can kill you faster than anything. So I would do one or the other. 3PL is the easier way. It's hands off, but I prefer like to have it come into me.
Is the 3PL way, is it cost effective?
Depends on your margins. And so I don't know if you've done in module 20.1, there's a spreadsheet which actually shows where you can actually put in, you can say, well, if I'm going to use a 3PL, you get a quote from them and they say it's going to cost you 30 cents a unit. You put that in a spreadsheet and you do the margin, like, oh, I can't afford 30 cents a unit. So you have to either be able to sell it for more, bundle it with something to justify a higher price, or move on to another product.
Gotcha. And then what about brand? Well, how do you feel about building a brand on Amazon?
So there's a lot of people that will teach you that selling products on Amazon is dead and you need to build a brand, and I say BS to that. I think building a brand and selling on Amazon are two different things, two entirely different things. You need a brand name for brand registry. Amazon will tell you we want brands, but I think Amazon, and there's nothing wrong with building a brand. I'm in the process of building a brand right now, and I'm using Amazon as the proving ground. So I'm building a brand of new stuff. And because Amazon has all these eyeballs, there's nothing like it in the history of the earth where you can be in front of 100 million people instantly like that without having to do all kinds of outside marketing. And it's a great place to go to actually see if your product works, and to get feedback and the reviews and what refinements you need to make. And then you're going to start seeing what your people are buying. You may have an idea to extend a brand, but a brand is not a name or a logo. That's what a lot of people think. It's how it makes someone feel, and it stands for something. And so you're going to find out that your avatar better by selling initially on Amazon, and you can figure out, I'm selling notebooks, and these notebook people are also buying backpacks, and they're also buying lunch pails or whatever. So my brand is going to be built around this lifestyle, this avatar. It's not, sometimes people get in, I'm going to do a brand, it's going to be all automotive products. And that may be one way to do it, but I think it's better to actually target an avatar, a person, someone who's a runner, a lifestyle. Because then you can sell, it opens up more opportunities for you. You're not limited to a category. You actually can go across multiple categories, and you can follow the opportunities easier on Amazon, because maybe in your category, the opportunities come and go, but there might be 3 other ones in this other one. If one of those products fits, saying you're selling sports and outdoors, but something in the automotive fits to your avatar that you're selling to, they'll buy it because it's in their lifestyle. And so what I like to do is sell individual products on Amazon and then build the brand off of that, from that later. Because branding is much more expensive and it's a whole different process. And so get your feet wet first, crawl before you run.
Sure. Now, when you launch, let's say you launch 20 new products on Amazon, do you have a kind of a percentage that you expect to hit and a percentage that you expect may not work?
Yeah, I project 70% of what I do is going to work.
Okay.
So even me that's been doing this a long time, 30% of what I do, despite all the math, despite all the knowledge I have and everything, about 30% they don't hit. I missed the mark for some reason. A lot of people start this business and their first few products they don't work, or they don't make any money. They're like, I thought I was going to have some extra money, and all I do is feel like I'm spending money on advertising. But it's the best way to get your MBA in this business. I mean, you're doing it. And a lot of people, the big sellers, yes, these multi-million-dollar sellers, a lot of them will tell you, my first product didn't work. It was some of them hit it out of the park the first time, but a lot of them, it's the second or the third or the fourth, and the opportunities are huge. So I tell people, don't give up. Learn as much as you can. Learn from it. Treat it as your tuition, and then the next one you're gonna be better. The next one you're gonna be better, and it's just gonna keep getting better. So yeah, I mean, it's a 70-30 for me. But there's only one product I've ever launched that I actually truly lost money on. because I'm able to, even though it doesn't work, I make sure I have enough margin and enough everything cushion built in so that at least I can liquidate it. It might take me a year to get my money back because it ain't selling. I'm selling one a day or something, but there's only one where I've actually lost my shirt on.
So it seems like the more differentiated you are in your product, the better, right?
The more differentiated, the better. You can't just do Me Too products. Right. Any product that I show you in the Freedom Ticket, run from it. Don't. If I show you an example, don't do it. Don't do it.
The cornhole game.
So yeah, don't do anything that I show you in there. I mean, same for Project X and all that stuff. Don't do that, or any other course. You got to think different. That's what I try to teach you in there. And differentiation is not just another color, or not just another size. The key is in business, any business, whether it's selling on Amazon or whatever you may be doing, is innovation and marketing. And so the more you can innovate and the better you are at marketing, the better chances you have at success. The same goes on Amazon.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming in, and I hope you guys learned something there. And regardless of what level or where you're at in your Amazon journey, maybe you're brand new like Amanda is and has some great goals over the next year, or maybe you're already making over $500,000 a year like Eric and are somewhat successful already. Hope one takeaway that you can take from this is that Freedom Ticket and the education, learning how to do things on Amazon definitely can help you guys. So I wish all of you who are just starting out now in week one a lot of success. You're going to learn a lot over the next few weeks. And if you have a big case of jealousy over Eric and Amanda here, like, hey, they got to pick Kevin's brain. Well, we just launched something that you may have seen in another module called Freedom Ticket Extra, where 3 times a month, you can't come into the Helium 10 office like this, but virtually you can connect on a Q&A session with Kevin. So if you guys are interested in that, it's called Freedom Ticket Extra. You can find out more information at helium10.com/FTX. So again, thank you guys for coming in, and I'd love to touch bases with you maybe in a year, 2021. Let's invite them back to the tequila room right here.
Do it.
And let's see, maybe he'll be over $1 million, and then you'll be closer to where he is right now, and got your PPC and everything else under control.
Right. Yes.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yes,
Thank you. Appreciate it.